Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jackie and this is Jackie is Making, a place where I talk all about the knit garments, accessories, and sometimes sewing projects that I have going on. And today I have a really fun podcast episode for you because I think it's been about 3 weeks, and so I have just so many WIPs going on. I actually was talking to a friend and took a look back at my Ravelry. And in my Ravelry, I think that I have 10 active WIPs. Now, I'm not going to be showing you all of those today, but just know that has been the state of my making ever since I went to Flock Fiber Fest in Seattle. I have just been like so grateful and excited to be a maker. And yeah, just with like the temps are starting to cool down in Wisconsin. Tomorrow, the high is 67. And as you know, there's always like a fake fall before there's the real fall. But nevertheless, I've been letting myself be so excited by it. I even made like a really delicious soup yesterday. And so yeah, I've just like, in Wisconsin, it's exciting because all of these like sweaters and knit things that I wear, you just get to enjoy them for so many months. And so, yeah, I've just been like really excited and grateful for the ability to make and just been feeling like so creative and inspired, probably because I saw so many beautiful makers and sweaters in person. So yeah, I have 2 finished objects to share with you all today. It's almost like it's a 1.5 because one is half of a pair of socks, meaning one sock. And then I have 4 WIPs I'm gonna talk with you about. And then I made a couple of project bags that are really fun. And I think that I'm gonna recommend this pattern to you because I think it might be like my ideal project bag for knitting. So before we jump into today's video, I did want to thank the sponsor, Bob and Brad. You may remember Bob and Brad recently sent me a hand massager that I love. I've been using it every single time I need to take breaks at night, let my hands rest from knitting. And more recently, they've asked me if I've also wanted to try their back massager. And definitely because I craft for such long periods of time, I was like, yeah, I would love to try that and see if it helps me just kind of relax, again, take breaks. And I am so happy to report that I love it. To use the back massager, you simply just plug it in and press the buttons on the back. You can see I'm pressing different modes here. So the first and second one are going to be heated in different directions. And the second 2 are going to not have the heat on and then also just hold it down to turn it off. And what I love about this is you can really easily see like if the heat is on, it turns red. If not, it'll be off. And you can see as I'm pressing them, they go different motions as well. And this is just so convenient. You can see like I can just hang out and knit as I'm massaging my back. This is so perfect. I love it in this setting when I'm in this chair, but I can also sit on the couch and have it really low on my back. I can have it all the way up on my neck. You know, those really like when you get high tension and you really need to have a massage into your neck. It is so nice. I very highly recommend this product. Thank you again to Bob and Brad. Let's just jump right into it. My first project that I completed is the weekend hat by Petite Knit. And if you were following along with me while I was going to Flock, you may have seen in some of my photos, like my pictures of like when I was on the aeroplane and like when I was knitting with friends at Flock. This was like my entire trip project. So I cast this on the night before. It might have been 2 nights before I left for Flock, worked on it while I was there, and then finished it the week after I came home. So I think in total it took me about 3 weeks. And I'm going to put this on in 1 second, but first I really want you to see the unique thing about this pattern. So if you've never heard of this hat, this is a 1x1 hat pattern. And then it goes up pretty tall and has some really pretty decreases at the top. And I think what makes this pattern just a little bit unique is there's a couple sections of double knitting within it so that it will like have a tendency to fold at certain points, and that makes it so that the folds stay. Now, I think that the recommended yarn for this is just using 1 DK weight yarn, if I'm not mistaken. However, I had some left over of that gorgeous green that I used for my Nova tank, the Malabrigo sock. And when I was thinking about what to cast on for my trip project, I basically for that tee used only 2 skeins and had almost a full skein left over. I had only used a very little bit for the bottom, basically like 3 rows of that top. And so yeah, I had almost a full skein of sock yarn. And I was like, I could make it into a just like stockinette sort of hat. I could make it into a pair of socks. There's obviously like a million things you can do, right, with a fingering weight skein of yarn. Once I saw this 1x1 hat on Ravelry, I thought this would just be so perfect. And I was really happily surprised to see down in the notes that it is recommended that you could use a fingering plus mohair to meet the gauge of this as well. And so like I knew I had this green and I would love this green on myself. And then I went digging through my mohair stash and I found the Caldwell Woolens Harmony mohair that I had used for my Norma sweater and that they had gifted me. They gave me just a little bit too much, so I actually had like a skein and a quarter left of the mohair, and I only needed 1 skein of the mohair, only 25 grams. So I was like, oh, that is perfect. So just so you know, if you need a hat to make, a lot of times when you make mohair projects, or not a lot of times, unfortunately, sometimes you'll have a skein left over of mohair. So if you have just like a skein lying around of mohair, and I'm sure perhaps you have 1 skein of fingering weight yarn, or you could just go buy one to match your mohair, I absolutely recommend this project because I just think it was like so perfect to use up those 2. And I really love the fabric that it made. So I'm just folding this up here quickly, again, on those creases. I do still feel like you do need to be mindful when you are folding this. Like, it doesn't automatically crease perfectly, but the creases are there as guides. So it is nice in the aspect that like in a case that you would have to fold it in a different manner, you could, and it wouldn't be too obvious, but it's also obvious enough for you to do it. But yeah, let me put this on for you since I bet you're dying to see it on me. Just make sure, I'm looking in the viewfinder here to see if I've got it on correctly. There we go. So yes, it has, you saw how long it was, and with the 2 folds, you'll end up with 3 layers of fabric over your ears, and then it has quite a bit of length up top. I think especially with this fingering plus mohair, I got quite a bit of length in blocking, and yeah, the fabric is just gorgeous for this. It's so soft, not itchy at all. I really love that Caldwell Woolens mohair harmony. Loved it in my Norma sweater, and also with this, I feel like it's very soft. I did at one time make an Oslo hat mohair edition with, I'm trying to think what mohair I used. Let me see, actually, I have Ravelry right in front of me. It was such a gorgeous hat. It was the same thing where I was holding a fingering weight plus a mohair. And okay, it was Rowan Kid Silk Haze, and it was so itchy. I actually could barely wear it. The second I would put it on, I would start feeling little prickles on my forehead, and I was never really able to wear it. It was also when I first started knitting and it was a little bit tight, so I feel like the tightness plus the itchy, like I just never wore it. So I was a little bit hesitant to cast this on with mohair, just knowing that about myself. However, I knew how soft the mohair was in my Norma sweater. sweater, and I kept like holding it up to my head and just being like, Jacque, are you going to be okay with this? Is this going to be all right? And absolutely, it is all right. It's so comfortable as I'm sitting here. I absolutely love it. And what I also love about these colors, so I put these two colors together, and you wouldn't normally pair these two colors together. However, following the Knitting for Olive page has just been so inspiring for me to see how many different colors of mohair that you can pair with a yarn and like create these different color combinations. So remember that when you're picking out fluff to go with, or like just anytime you're holding two yarns together, they don't necessarily have to match perfectly. Sometimes when they are a little bit different, it just creates like a really beautiful marled yarn. And in this case, it kind of created like a new color. It doesn't even actually look marled to me. It just looks like its own unique color, which I really love. So yeah, this is just, it's so soft. I can't express that enough. And it feels like the perfect amount of warmth. I don't think it's gonna be enough for the coldest of cold days, just because once you get up here, this is just one layer of fabric. And so I can picture maybe wind flying through if you're in those like -degree days. However, majority of the days, I think this will be a warm, really cute hat. And with this color as well, actually, my husband tried it on. I thought with the teal, he might be like, oh, it's too girly, but he's been like trying it on and he loves the color on himself as well. And I always love things that I make that we can kind of split and share, because it just means that the item is going to get more use and more wear out of it. So yeah, that is the weekend hat. Not a ton to like discuss in terms of construction about it. It's very simply 1x1 rib. However, I will say, if you are somebody that when you get to the end of a sweater and you're just like, oh man, now I have to go into the ribbing. No, 1x1 rib. Oh my gosh, it's going to take so long. Like, I feel like this has been typically my attitude, has just been like, oh man, like now I have to go into the ribbing. In a project like this, it gives you more practice. It gives you more time with it. Even though I've been knitting for a while now, I've done a million ribbed cuffs, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like I have less general anger toward a 1x1 rib now. And it's more just like, it was enjoyable. Like the fact that I could knit this really long hat with it and just still really enjoy the project kind of just made me feel more at ease with 1x1 rib. So if it's something you're struggling with, it's weird to say just do it more. Like if you don't like it, just do it more. But I honestly feel like that may have been the case for me. And now I kind of want to make another one, actually. I could see myself making multiple of these. And one other reason why is because it does fit so well. This is the adult medium size. And for me, if you've been following my podcast, you know, I've made maybe like 3 muscle burra hats, that really popular stockinette pattern. And all of them have just not fit perfectly. And I have made different sizes, and each one I end up dissatisfied with the fit. And this, I'm very happy with the fit, which makes me feel like, oh my goodness, I want to make another one, because there's kind of nothing worse than making something and you can't wear it. It doesn't fit good. And so, yeah. Can't recommend this pattern enough. It's very simple. You might also say, you know, I can just kind of make this up. I don't need to buy a pattern for it. And I think, you know, that's probably true for a lot of you. I do think, however, the decreases are pretty cute on this. I think the length is absolutely perfect. The double knitting, I appreciate that aspect to the pattern. And so, yeah, there's just like some versatility in here that I appreciate, and I'm excited to, make another one. So that is the weekend hat. All right, and then speaking of ribbing, I have one sock to show you, and I'm gonna put it on this sock blocker here so you can see it a little bit better. Why this sock was unique is because I had kind of been complaining for a while about my socks not fitting me correctly, very similar to what I was just talking to you about with the hat. And I felt like my socks just weren't snug enough, so I kept making ones that I felt like were falling off my foot and would be like too slippery in my shoe or around the house. And it just, yeah, it wasn't a snug enough fit and not what I'm used to in like how socks normally fit me. And so I like read a little bit in a sock book, and I decided to go down to 60 stitches. I think I had maybe even tried less than that. Ended up at 60, felt like it was perfect for my foot. And then kind of decided to, okay, maybe I'll do like a ribbed sock through majority of it and see if that like grips my foot a little bit better. And I'm happy to report I really love the way that this one fits. So for this sock, I followed a pattern for majority of it. For the whole leg, I did a German twisted cast on, did a 3x1 rib for the whole leg of it. And then for the heel flap and gusset, I followed Crazy Sock Lady's tutorial just because I had already had that purchased. And I did that she has like a pattern for in magic loop. So I followed that for this. And then I took my own calculation of stitches and decreased still in pattern on that top part of the sock and kept the rest in stockinette so that the bottom of my foot would just be in stockinette, but then the top would still be in pattern and would grip my foot with that ribbing. And then for the end here, I found this great website that helps you figure out, like I like to do a round toe for the end of my socks. I feel like it just absolutely fits me the best, is the most comfy. And so there's one website that has like a calculator where you put in your gauge and then it tells you how, like at what point do you start the round toe, and then exactly what your like order of operation should be. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing with this. I feel like it was my own little sock formula, which it seems like watching some other YouTubers and talking with people that it's very common that, you know, all of our feet are a little bit unique and that you would eventually find your sort of recipe that works best for you. And very much that is me with this one. So yeah, I'm excited about this. It took me a while to finish this sock because I had kind of gotten stuck on the heel flap before. I was doing a different pattern and I decided to just frog it and go back to one that I knew that I loved, the Crazy Sock Ladies. And it worked out well. So now I'm just ready to cast on the other sock and then I'll be finished with these. And for anyone's curious about this yarn, this is an opal sock yarn. I absolutely love opal sock yarns. Their patterns are so fun. They're so engaging because you get to watch kind of the color work change. And I love the texture of opal sock yarn as well. It feels a little bit more hardy and rustic than maybe like a superwash yarn would feel. This is, I believe, a 75-25. I'll have the exact markup up on the screen, but yeah, if you've never felt opal yarn before, I highly recommend it. There's a couple of different places where you can buy opal sock yarn from in the United States, at least. And I know Simply Sock Yarn sells it, and I actually have found some old colorways that I love on Etsy. So that's a place to look as well if you're unable to find it at a local yarn store next to you. So those are my two finished objects. Okay, now going into my 4 WIPs. I actually am first going to show you the project bag that this one is in. So this is really fun. Let's see, where's my name on here? Yeah. I like put one of my old tags on here. So this one is actually not 100% truthful because my tag says Jacqueline Merrifield handmade 2024. I actually never got labels printed this year. So if you're unfamiliar with like, you know, my whole making history, which you probably are, I used to be really, really into sewing before I started knitting. And every year I would print myself these little tags that said the year it was handmade, and it was a different color so that like when I would put them on something, I would just know, you know, kind of like what year that I made it in and that sort of thing. So I didn't get any printed this year, but I think that I should, and I should just like take this off and re-put one on because it always makes my bags feel so special when I have that aspect to it. But for this one, this is the large size. And this I made out of some fabrics that I found at an estate sale. And it just feels like so Wisconsin to me. The outside is cows and pigs in this really beautiful, almost like gingham plaid type fabric. And this is a drawstring bag. So you can kind of, let's see, you kind of have to pull each side in, and then it cinches at the top. And then within it, I did, it's like kind of a cow print sort of pattern. And I also did some pockets within there. And then obviously all the quilting all around it is done by me. And yeah, it's been really enjoyable. I've actually been listening to a book for book club that I can't recommend to you all enough as you're making. It's called Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. He's the same author who wrote The Martian. And I believe this book is getting popular again because it's going to become a movie next spring. But I can't even begin to tell you how vivid this book is. And I'm very much so a visual learner. So sometimes I have a hard time listening to audiobooks. However, this one, oh my goodness, it feels like you're listening to a movie. The narrator does such a good job, and the book is beautifully written, and it just feels like you're there. Feels like you're on an adventure. So I can't recommend it enough. If you're wanting to read more this year and you like can't get it in because you want to make so much like me, sometimes audiobooks are the perfect answer to that. And if you do read it, let me know, or if you've read it down below. Like, I am so glad my friend Amber recommended me to listen to it because it's just been incredibly enriching and like so fun to listen to. So such a joy. In this bag, I have my Harlow sweater. So let me get this out. And this I am making out of one strand of 100% alpaca in a sport weight. And then I am holding it with one strand of Knitting for Olive mohair. And I've actually gotten pretty far since the last time you saw it. I believe I was still working on the short rows. So let me just show you the back first. The back has these really kind of beautiful touches where it has, you basically cast on with an I-cord, and then you're knitting into and like picking up stitches within an I-cord. So that's kind of what you see here. And then you knit your back panel, and then you pick up the two fronts, and you're basically making a V-neck. And for this V-neck, it is pretty deep. This, I am knitting a size medium, and it feels huge to me. I honestly probably need to try it on. I've just been like so busy with my other making that I haven't tried it on yet. I do know, however, this is supposed to be like a very comfy, cozy sort of oversized vibe. So I think I'm kind of just like achieving the look that I am going for. And so after you're done with those increases on both sides to make that beautiful V-neck, then you get to join in the round. Let's see if I can show you how far I am. And I am just, I think I'm like 4 inches, maybe 3 inches shy of being done with the body, and then I get to work on the ribbing. And for this ribbing, this is going to be a split hem ribbed garment. I know in the past I've said I sometimes don't like doing split hems because I really enjoy kind of tucking in some of my sweaters. However, because this is so oversized, I think it's going to be really cute with a split hem. So this will be the first time that I am trying that. And yeah, I this fabric, so squishy and soft. It's definitely a more open gauge. I've talked about how this is the same gauge as that Norma sweater that I made, and I love the way that drapes and fits me. So I'm really excited about this fabric as well. But there's been so many times when I've been knitting on it, and you know when a sweater gets like just enough length that when it drapes on you, like just feeling the weight of it, the warmth of it has been feeling so nice. So I'm just really excited about that. And the way that it feels to knit on is so comfortable and nice as well. It's very much so like a very enjoyable to be on the round, just like doesn't hurt my hands at all, feels delicious. And so yeah, that's like my least problematic WIP right now, meaning it's so effortless to pick it up, so comfortable. I'm kind of gonna be sad when the body's done because it's just been like such the perfect TV knitting, just so comfortable, nice, and yeah, soft. So once I'm done with that body ribbing, then I'll get to pick up for I'll probably do the collar next. It's a really pretty 2x2 rib, I believe. And it's kind of stands up a little bit and you fold it over. So I'm really excited to see what the sweater looks like when I do that part. And then I'll just be left with sleeves. So I do feel like the vibes of this sweater very much feel like the start of fall, like yeah, just kind of that oversized, like, just feels very fall to me. And like I said, I've been letting myself get excited. I always let myself restart Gilmore Girls on September 1st. So I'm counting down the days. I have to like tell myself you can't celebrate fall yet. You can't, but I'm so close to letting myself. And the other fun thing too is last year I had a viewer recommend to me watching Felicity, and I never finished it. However, I really loved watching it. It's just like the perfect 90s. She's at school, very fall vibes. I believe it's set in New York. So I kind of want to continue watching that as well. Thank you to whoever recommended that to me last year. It's definitely a Jacque show. All right, let's get into the next WIP. Oh, this one's kind of fun. And I actually have this in the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show. This is something that I'm going to be going to here in a couple of weeks. And I got one of their tote bags early. And I actually have way too many tote bags in my life. So I've actually been thinking about maybe I'm going to cut this up and make it into a big zipped project bag. Just because I love the motif so much. It is so cute. So yeah, within this, I have something I think that's pretty fun. So from Flock, I ended up getting Sorella Yarns, her brand new home line. And this sold out like almost the night it came out on her website. It also did really well sales-wise at Flock. And this is her new, so if you're unfamiliar, Sorella is a hand dyer, but she's recently partnered with a like more commercially produced manufacturer to make this unique line of yarn. And so this is a DK to worsted weight, and it is a superwash. And then it also has, I believe it's a 75% superwash merino wool, 25% cashmere style nylon. A little bit of marketing there, but that is what she calls it. I believe those are the markups I'll have up on the screen as well. And so this yarn, actually, when I first saw it and just knowing me, this is not a typical yarn that I would have purchased just because I'm very much more so into that like rusticy, woolly yarn. I like the texture. I like when, it feels like closer to the animal to me when it feels like that texture. However, I did know that just it would be fun to test this out for you all. And I don't get to do that a ton where I'm really just kind of like giving back to you guys in certain ways. And so I thought that would be fun, is testing this out, seeing if I would recommend it to you all and that sort of thing. So I got 2 skeins of this. One is in the colorway Novel. One is in the colorway Gingham, and I decided to cast on this gingham hat by Jessie Maed, and it's very much so in its infant stages right now, but I think the colors are working up very cool. I actually had a couple of fights with this hat because the recommended cast on is a tubular cast on, and I did it a couple of times. It's definitely not the easiest thing to do. I had to watch some YouTube videos and eventually I figured it out. However, I at one point dropped a stitch just because I had it like crumpled up in my bag, and it was when I was only like 3 rows into the ribbing. And what ended up happening is I like dipped into wherever that tubular cast on was, and it was just not good. Every single time I came back to that point in the round, I had tried to ladder down and fix it, and I just could not get it looking like the rest for the life of me. And I kept being like, okay, it's not gonna bother you, or like I can go back and like stitch it together or something. And of course, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to frog. Let's recast it on. I will say I'm very proud of myself. That is like my new motto with anything, is the second it starts bothering me over and over again, like just rip it out, redo it. It's not going to take you that long. It's fine. And so, yeah, I did that with myself, and I was like, okay, let's frog this. And then as I looked at it more, I feel like a tubular cast on, while it's quote unquote more professional, it is kind of pronounced and a little bit more bulky because of that kind of like double knitting there. And I was just looking through pictures on Ravelry, and I was like, yeah, obviously I can do this and it's better, but I kind of like how it looks better with the just like regular cast on that I do. So that's what I did. Just a long tail cast on. So that's kind of funny. I like went through all the trouble of doing the harder cast on, and then it just ended up doing a long tail anyways. And then the other thing with this pattern too is it does recommend a full twisted rib, and man, that hurts my hands. And I was just like, I like the look of one by rib fine. So this is kind of like just very heavily altered in these first couple of sections. I will say though, like if you look at the pattern photos of the Great Gingham hat, it's gorgeous with a tubular cast on and with twisted rib. So if you want that look, by all means do it. It's very beautiful as well. And then right away, I've just went into the color work, and it's looking really fun with this light blue and chocolate color. And upon making this, I've kind of remembered as well, I do have a light blue Sophie shawl that is on the needles. That's one of my WIPs that's sleeping. And that's made me like even more excited to make this. The fact that I could eventually have a matching sort of scarf to wear with this. So yeah, that's just like kind of a fun note to this. But yeah, this is all I have done so far. This has kind of just been like a background WIP, but been excited to see the color work come alive. And for one row of the motif, I don't need to catch floats, but for another one, I do, because I think it's like 7 stitches in between colors. So for that one, on the 4th stitch, I do catch a float. And I think that's gonna work out perfectly for this. And then the yarn has, like on especially this darker brown color, there's ever so slightly little bits of like white fuzz coming off of it. And I don't always love when yarns do that. I do think it's the nylon maybe that's doing that. It doesn't super bother me, but I don't always love when there's like kind of fuzz coming off yarn like that. And then all I can say right now is it's just insanely soft. It's so soft. So many times when I'm knitting, I'll stop and just like hug this and touch this. It's just like, it's incredible. I really do think this is a kind of special yarn. And so I'm excited to be working with it. It feels really, really good. If you have anybody in your life, or if you are sensitive to itchy wools, I do think you would really, really like this. But we'll see like how it continues to work up. I do know better than to do this sort of yarn for color work. Like color work, you kind of want something that is going to be a little bit more rustic because it kind of grips each other and blocks out beautifully. Sometimes with these superwash yarns, it just looks a little bit more crisp and the stitches are really defined. But it's not bothering me. I think that it looks cool. So that is the gingham hat. I'm excited to see how that one continues to work up. I did contemplate as well doing like a folded brim, but every single time I looked at the project photos, I just thought it was so pretty in just the single layer. And I liked the idea of having a hat that wasn't as warm. Like I just made one with 3 layers on the ears. So maybe this one will be good in the 1 layer. Okay, 2 more WIPs to show you. First, let me just give you a quick update on my Agnes Kofta. This is the beautiful colorwork cardigan that I am working on. And right now I am in the round. I am maybe like 10 rows before I'm splitting for sleeves. And I have this on a 40-inch cable. There's like 400 stitches right now. So I need to just become more brave to work on it, honestly. I think last time I showed it to you, it was right before this very last blue motif, this kind of blue and white, and then we go into some red. And yeah, oh my gosh, every time I see it on camera, I'm like, that cannot wait to wear this. It's just so pretty. This is a sport weight yarn, and it is going to be a steeked cardigan. So you can kind of see those steeked stitches there in the middle. And yeah, I'm just showing this to you to show you my project. Not a lot more to update. It's in the round. It's color work. It's taking forever. But I am so excited to split for sleeves because I really think that's going to help my mojo with it, to get back in the swing of it and to have less stitches. Like maybe I'll even do a sleeve or something just to get some more momentum going, because it is just like very hard right now to want to knit on this with the 400 stitches. It's like, oh my gosh, 20 minutes for 1 row or whatever. And it is a little bit not the easiest on my hands with how many stitches are on a 40-inch cable. So yeah, that is the Agnes Kofta cardigan. Again, just really quick update. Hopefully I'll split for sleeves, and then maybe actually what a good goal would be for my next podcast would be to split for sleeves and just like be able to try it on for you all. I think that's a good goal. So I will write that down and try to focus on that, because it's just, I'm really excited to be able to wear that once it cools down. Okay, lastly, I have first actually another project bag. This was the first one that I made, and I learned so much from this one. So this one I actually did 2 layers of batting, and I felt like it was too much. As you can see, it's very more like rigid, and so when I do the kind of scrunch at the top, it doesn't really want to scrunch in as much. So, and then this is the medium size, so definitely not big enough for a sweater, perfect for the beginning of a sweater or a hat. And then there's also a small size. So I am learning about myself. I do really love to make an initial version of a pattern, almost like you're making a muslin for, like, if you've ever made clothes before, with like maybe fabrics that aren't like my final fabrics. Like for these were just fat quarters that I had sitting around. And just see like where are the things that I'll need to focus on in the pattern or fix. And I definitely had like a little list of things to focus on when I made my green bag because of this one. But I still made this one well enough that like this is gonna get used. And so that's kind of exciting about this one too. Sometimes when I do that sort of thing, I end up re-cutting it all up and like using it for a completely different project because yeah, sometimes instructions are confusing and you'll like completely mess something up, but this one is completely usable. And don't worry, my seam ripper and I got plenty of work done together this weekend. But okay, this project is new to you all. This is the Marseille sweater, and I am knitting this out of a 100% lamb's wool in the colorway Espresso. And this is from a sheep farm close to me, only like 20 minutes away from me. And it's really special because I got it at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. And I actually showed this to you last podcast episode because I was thinking about holding it with a tweed yarn I got for an Olga sweater and kind of like doing stripes. However, I thought that it looked a little bit too much like a black and white in that instance. And so I started thinking, what if I made like a Marseille sweater and then it would have less stripes in it and would give more emphasis on this gorgeous yarn. And also, I really wanted to know if I liked this yarn because Sheep and Wool is coming up here in just like 11 days. And so I just wanted to see like, do I want to buy from this vendor again and that sort of thing. And so yeah, a couple of findings here. One, I absolutely love this lamb's wool. You can like feel just the texture of it is so nice. It's so soft. Like you can definitely tell it's lamb's wool versus just like, you know, like an older sheep. They did such a good job of picking out their like darkest kind of sections of this wool because it's so dark and beautiful. And so because of that, I feel like I kind of just want to like honor this yarn and make the whole thing in this instead of doing the stripes, which is funny because I picked the Marseille sweater to do the stripes. I already cast it on. I did all the short rows. I'm almost done like finishing this back panel. And I actually think that I am not going to do stripes. So I'm going to have this gorgeous drop down or drop shoulder sweater. I still think I should just stick with the pattern because it looks like a great like just basic. I think it's a 9 inches of positive ease, like just a nice drop shoulder sweater. I was thinking, okay, like should I just rip it out and start something else because I'm not going to do these stripes anymore. But I think I'm just going to stick with it. It looks like a great base for a sweater. So yeah, no longer doing the stripes, but I am still going to call it the Marseille sweater because that's the pattern that I am following for it. But yeah, this is, I'm hoping is just going to be like a staple, a classic. I don't have a ton of like one color sweaters. I often like get excited about all these other colors. So just the fact that I have kind of that very cream sweater on the needles and then this just like classic, really deep, rich brown. I'm excited to put a couple of more staples into my wardrobe. Okay, well, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that all of you have a great rest of your week making. Please let me know down below what you worked on while you were listening to today's episode, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.